We would also like to recognize two former members, Representative David Lucas and Senator Robert Brown. I don't know if they're here, but we would like to recognize them and understand as they have resigned and moving on to other things. Would like to communicate to everybody here, though, that the General Assembly and the Governor see the need of making sure that this area is represented as we go through special session. And then the Governor has put in his writ to have the special elections for the House District 139 and the State Senate District 26 to be held on July 19th. If there is a runoff, that runoff will occur on August 16th for the purpose of making sure that those two seats are have individuals seated in those, and so that this area can be represented as we go through the special session that we will have that will begin on August 15th. Every 10 years we have a census that is taken, and when we get those numbers we have to go through the process that's called redistricting. It is not something that we want to do. It's not something that we choose to do. It is something that we have to do in order to follow the law. The Constitution requires a one person, one vote, and so when we have the census that's been taken, as I understand it from a legal standpoint, now that we've had those censuses taken, the maps, the districts that we have right now are illegal. They're out of date. And so we have to go through the process to realign those districts so that we can adhere to the Constitution. And in doing that, we will have a special session August 15th for the purpose of passing new maps, new congressional maps, new Public Service Commission maps, new State House maps, and new Senate maps that will bring our districts back in line with the Constitution to adhere to the one person, one vote. So what we have to do is we take the total population of Georgia and we have to divide that by 180 on the House side to see what the average House district should be, and that's about 53,800, something like that. And in the Senate, we divide that number by 56 so that every Senate district will have to be close to an average of 772,994. And so in going about that process, one thing that we're doing now is to gain public input from individuals as to what they believe are the matters that we should take into consideration as we go through this process in how to draw these maps. Again, I'd like to tell everybody, if you wish to speak tonight, please go and sign up out front so that we can call you to give you the opportunity to come speak as we have in the other meetings. When you get called to speak, what will happen is I will call two names, and I'm going to apologize up front if I forget to, or if I mispronounce your name. I grew up in a town where my name was quite familiar, but then I moved and I found how difficult it is when people do not know how to spell nor pronounce your name. So I'm very sensitive to that, but I will tell you right now, I will mess up somebody's name. And so for that purpose, when you do come to speak, come to this podium, I said I will call two names, and the other person can stand or sit in the chair over there so that we can expedite being able to give people the opportunity to speak. Please, when you come up here, the first thing we ask you to do is to say your name and to tell us where you're from. And at that point, you will be given 3 minutes to make your comments. This has been consistent with other meetings that we've had in giving that number, so be very aware of that. We have a timekeeper that will be down here. When your time is up, there will be a beep, and he's going to say time. And we would ask that you respectfully do that so that we don't have to get into calling you down, ask you to leave and all that. Just if you could cease your comments at that point in time. What you can do if you have additional comments, if you do not want to speak but do have something you want to comment, then there are many ways that you can communicate to this committee, to the General Assembly, what comments you wish for us to consider. You can send a letter to either one of us chairmen. You can communicate with your local senator and your local House member what you think needs to be considered. You can go online to our website and you can make comments, or you can send emails for us to be considered. So there's many different ways by which you can communicate what you think is important for us to take into consideration as we go through this process. Our website, anybody that wants to write down, I will give it to you. Here's what it is. You can go to www.legis.org. You can go to that website. Also on that website, you can go and you can look at the video of all the other hearings, public hearings that we've had in this state. Not just the ones that have occurred, but those that will occur after this. So you can go and you can review that information. I want to tell everybody that this hearing is being recorded. It will be posted on our website for the public to view, so keep that in mind as you make your comments. If everybody would take an opportunity now, take your cell phones and please put them in a sound off. I know you may want to keep it on vibrate or whatever, but if we could please do that, that way we won't be disrupted. Nobody will be disrupted when they're making their comments when you get the phone call. Also would like to have a special recognition to the House and Senate staff members who have been here and preparing for this meeting. If you are here from either the House or the Senate as a staff capacity, if you would please stand so we can recognize you. Somebody waving in the back. Jeremy, do you want to stand up so we can sing happy birthday to you right now? Today is Jeremy's birthday, 26 years old, and he reminded me today that I'm almost twice as old as him. So, with that, let's take an opportunity to introduce for you the members of the Senate Reapportionment Redistricting Committee. Do we have a? We don't have a. We don't have a. We got them all seated all over the place. If you are a member of the Senate Reapportionment and Redistricting Committee, if you would please stand and introduce yourself. Please start with Senator Tollison.
I'm Senator Tollison from Perry, Georgia. I represent Houston, Pulaski, Blackley, Dodge, Telfair, Wilcox, Lawrence, and Johnson counties.
My name is Ed Harbison. I represent the 15th Senatorial District from Columbus. Glad to be down here with the man strong as new rope.
And we will recognize in a moment. We have a special House member we'll recognize, and I was reminded today, and I have not been good in recognizing the fact that Senator Harbison did 3 tours in Vietnam and is a Purple Heart recipient. So thank you for your service. Other Senate members of the Reapportionment Redistricting Committee.
Good afternoon. I'm Cecil Staten from here in Middle Georgia. It's my privilege to represent the 18th District, which is portions of Bibb, Houston, Jones, Monroe, and Crawford counties. And my special word of thanks to Mercer University for hosting us today.
Okay, do we have any other members of the Senate that are here? Okay, with that, I'm going to let Representative Chairman Lane introduce the House members. We have some very important people here also, I've noticed.
I noticed some important people out there from the House. I'm Roger Lane, and I'm chairman of the House Reapportionment Redistricting Committee, and I joined Senator Seabaugh in thanking y'all for being here. It's a very important part of our democracy to have people involved and to have an opportunity to address our members. I would remind you when you come down to speak, we do have the committee sitting here on the first 2 or 3 rows, and that's who's going to decide these districts. So as much as you want to talk to us up here on the stage, the committee members are the ones that are going to be doing the voting, so I'd encourage you to focus in on them a little bit too. If the House members of the Reapportionment and Redistricting Committee would stand, and then we'll let you introduce each other as we just pass it around.
Starting with me. I'm Representative Sisty Hudson from Sparta, Georgia. I represent House District 124, which is 6 counties in East Central Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Ed Reinders from Lee County, Georgia, and I represent parts of Lee, Daugherty, Worth, and Colquitt counties.
Good afternoon. My name is Mickey Stevens. I come here from the hostess city of the South, the first city of Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, District 161.
I'm Ellis Black. I'm from 174, which is right down on the Florida line. I tell everybody I represent everything between Metcalf and Fargo. Yeah, good to be with y'all.
I'm Matt Dollar. I represent Cobb County, East Cobb County. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Willie Townton. I represent District 145, which is Warner Robins, Georgia.
Representative John Yates. Live in North Spalding County. Griffin is my county seat. Part of my district is Fayette County, Spalding County, and Fayette County. Thank you.
And while he's up, we'd like to recognize Representative Yates. He's the elder youngest member of our committee. He's 90 years old. He's a World War II veteran, the last one in the House, and we're very, very proud of him. And he's only missed one of these joint meetings so far, so he's a real trooper. Thank you a lot.
I'm Representative Richard Smith from Columbus.
And I'm Barbara Reese from the lower end of Lookout Mountain to the northwest. I represent Chattooga County and a large portion of Floyd County around the city of Rome.
It's like playing jump rope. We're trying not to choke a senator. I'm being very careful, as you can tell. My name is Lynn Smith, Representative Smith. I'm from Noonan, Georgia. That's House District 70. I represent the city of Noonan, western part of Coweta, and part of Heard County. Thank you for having us.
I'm Representative Ron Mayo. I represent the 91st House District, which includes parts of DeKalb and northern Henry County.
And now any other House members who are here besides Majority Leader O'Neill, we'll introduce him last, but any other House members here? I know we got one.
Again, I'm Representative Nikki Randall. I represent part of Bibb County.
Yeah.
And welcome to Macon.
Thank you. We got one down here.
Robert Dickey, represent lots of counties in Middle Georgia, District 136.
And I'm Bubba Epps, House District 140, Twiggs, Wilson, portions of Bibb and Jones, and we do welcome you to Macon and glad to have you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Both chairmen.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Chokus, and District 134 is my district. I represent Sumter, Sly, Marion, and part of Talbot County.
Hello, I'm Susan Holmes from Monticello, and I represent all of Jasper County, parts of Monroe, parts of Lamar, Jones, and a little portion of Bibb. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm Alan Peake. I represent the Macon area, west, northwest, south County, and we're glad to have y'all here in Macon.
And I guess last but not least, our Majority Leader of the House of Representatives. We're very proud of him. Representative Larry O'Neill, if you want to just welcome us and tell us where your district is, we'd appreciate it.
Well, my district is just south of here, and you're certainly welcome here anytime, Mr. Chairman, that you're in Middle Georgia. We're delighted to have you all here, and we really want to thank wonderful folks here at Mercer University and the Medical College here for hosting us. What a great tribute that is to be in such a hallowed place. Thank you all. Welcome.
And I think that's everybody. I would like to join in Majority Leader O'Neill's thanks to Mercer University. This is my alma mater also, and I hadn't been on campus in a long time, and it's really pleasing and surprising all the changes that have been made, and what a great university. It was a great university when I was here too, but it's expanded a little bit since then. But we do appreciate y'all hosting us and giving us opportunity to show off my alma mater to the members of the House. I also would like to congratulate the senators and the House members who appear at these hearings to get input from the citizens as to what you feel should be done in redistricting it. And I'd like to give them a big hand. They've been at all these meetings, and they've done a fantastic job of paying attention, and I'm sure that it will affect the way the districts get drawn when we get to the drawing stage. So let's give the House members and the Senate members a round for being here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Senator Seaball.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, the purpose of this meeting is for the members of this committee to hear from the public what's on your mind, what you believe that we need to consider. If you want to speak, please, out front, if you'll sign the sheet, and then we'll call you in the name that you, in the order for which you've signed up for. So we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to say what they want to say. Again, we're limiting comments to 3 minutes. And also, I just wanted to tell you, in order that this be a public hearing for us to hear from you, we will not be engaging in discussion, answering questions, or getting into any debate. You can say what you want to say from the podium, but please do not expect us to start engaging in discussions like that, because you see how easily what could happen is it could turn into a very long discussion and people get discouraged. They don't think they're going to have the opportunity to have their comments be heard, and then they end up leaving. So we just go through this. I will call out 2 names. If you'll take the podium, if you're the second person, if you would stand or sit right there to make sure that you're ready to move in right after the person. And when you come to speak, give us your name first and give where you're from, and then to give us your comments. With that, we'll begin with Alan Thies and Richard Nadler. And also, I will say this, if for some reason you cannot come to the podium, we do have a microphone that we can bring to you, so just let us know.
Good evening. My name is Alan Thies. I live in West Bibb County, right below Wesleyan College, and I'm not here as an unhappy citizen. I consider myself well represented. I'm here tonight to ask that while the reapportionment process is going on, that you consider the fact that the output of your district lines will represent we, the people, and that all people that serve in these newly established districts will indeed be servant leaders. In other words, let's put the personal power grabs or the political advantages aside and use common sense as we draw the districts. I happen to live in the 8th district for the U.S. Congress. It is probably the longest district in the state of Georgia. I would submit that although we are supposedly the most obese and the poorest people, that most of us in Bibb County have very little in common with the bottom end of District 8. So let's go for some cohesion. As far as U.S. House districts, I would suggest that we put Fort Benning and all of Warner Robins in the same district. Commonality in goals. The 12th district has Fort Stewart and Fort Gordon, but I don't think they have the entire metropolitan areas of Savannah or Augusta. And here again, we're striving for commonality of goals of the people that live in that district. The 12th district is pretty stretched out and sort of what I call gerrymandered. I would submit, what do the folks in Sharon, Georgia have in common with the people in Savannah? Probably very little. As regards state Senate seats, I happen to live in Bibb County. My senator is Cecil Staton. I would suggest that maybe Bibb County be one Senate seat if that's possible. Here again, even though my wife has relatives in Danville, we really have very little in common with the citizens of Danville, which is basically a retirement community. Have nothing against retirees. I am one myself. I'm a triple dipper. but I think we need to worry about commonality of the citizens and the goals of each respective area. If we do that, I think we can make a better Georgia, and I'm looking forward to 14 congressional representatives for the state of Georgia. We are growing. All we got to do now is flex our muscle with people behind each House of Representative person. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Richard.
Good afternoon, senators and House members from the General Assembly and fellow citizens of Georgia. My name is Richard Nadler. I'm a resident of Warner Robins, Georgia, and I live in Houston County. I've lived in the state of Georgia for 9 years now. I am a graduate of Mercer University Law School, and so I'm an alumni here also, and it has changed. But I'm here today to speak about the little strange approach to redistricting here in Georgia. Here we redistrict the General Assembly and the congressional districts, and we don't see any maps here today. We don't have any data here, so we can really help make an analysis and aid the General Assembly committees to do their best job. Now, the buzzword has been for the last year, transparency, transparency, transparency. But that doesn't mean indivisible. I mean indivisible. Invisible. Lines. We'd like to see the lines. We'd like to know what you're thinking about before those maps come out. Let us comment on it after the maps are out there, so we really can be meaningful what we say. The way that these hearings are organized, without the participants or the voters looking at maps, that's very difficult for us to talk about and comment on the proposed redistricting. Now, the real question is, in simple language, should the voters of Georgia choose their politicians, or should the politicians in Georgia choose their voters? In most cases, political experts hired by state legislators and governors draw maps under the pressure of party solidarity and self-protection. Often the lines appeared on the maps that they don't match any geographical or community boundaries, but instead create communities of like-minded and predictable voters. The resulting gerrymandering of these districts are steadily more partisan, sometimes favoring the party in power, and at other times creating communities of like-minded and predictable voters. They are steadily more partisan and are there either to help the party in power or to allow the incumbent to keep their position. Without the data and some maps, and not just the maps of how the population is, it's hard for us to make really meaningful comments. Now, the constitutional design of the House of Representatives to represent the views of the people as closely as possible, and
thank you.
I just hope that you will get a lot of meaningful things, and because of the lack of information,
Thank you.
We have a recess instead of adjourn and have us come back.
Thank you. William Perry and Ann McKay.
Thank you very much. My name is William Perry. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the Executive Director of Common Cause Georgia, and also here representing the Georgia Redistricting Alliance, along with the League of Women Voters of Georgia and Georgia One. I did want to start off by saying that a couple of weeks ago down in Columbus at a similar hearing, I did make a mistake about the pre-clearance process. And thank you to Chairman Seabaugh for helping me get straightened out on that and realizing that once the maps are drawn, there are two avenues for pre-clearance. There's going to the Justice Department as well as going to court. I do want to clarify, though, that the preferred method by our alliance and by our organizations is certainly pre-clearance through the Justice Department. hopefully to save the taxpayers of the state the money of litigation. I do want to say that, too, the Georgia Redistricting Alliance is trying to put out information to citizens in order to educate about the process. We have a document we call Redistricting 101. If there's any citizens that would like to know more and have one of these, we've got them available. They're also available online at the League of Women Voters website, which is lwvga.org. We are pushing for the fair redistricting process, and in the pre-clearance, underneath that, do feel like if the districts are drawn fairly and according to law, that there should be no problem with the state of Georgia getting pre-clearance through the Justice Department, and feel that is the easiest route. We also want to say, obviously, that this is the first redistricting that has been done after a census now that the Republicans are in control, and I think I don't have to tell you that when the Democrats were last in control and they redistricting, that they did not do it right. We hope that we can learn from experience and know that it can be done fairly without court challenges if the law is followed and principles are established. I've actually read them on the record, so I'm not going to repeat them, but our alliance has produced 5 standards that we believe will help with redistricting and certainly make the districts as fair as possible, and I hope that you will consider those when you do begin the map drawing process. Again, if there are any citizens or anybody else that would like the information, we'll be here throughout the hearing that we can pass it along to you. It contains contact information that if you don't have time or aren't able to get up, they referred to the websites and the mailing addresses earlier where you can submit official comments and things like that, and we've got it down here in case you didn't get it down. So again, thank you very much and appreciate the time.
Thank you. Ann?
Good evening, committee members. My name is Ann McKay, that's M-A-C, capital K-A-Y, and I live in Warner Robins, Georgia, and I've lived in this state for 5 years. Thank you for the opportunity for the citizens to give comments on redistricting, and I would like to propose that we start fresh and not think about what's happened in the past. And I'd like to talk about 3 important points: fairness, transparency, and equality. First, fairness. Voters should be able to define their own communities. The map should reflect the city and county lines as much as possible. The process should be applied fairly to all voters, and maps shouldn't be distorted by local or state politics, which has been an issue in the past. The map should fairly reflect the voting patterns in that area. Second, transparency. There must be transparency in every aspect of the process, and by that I mean there should be openness, communication, and accountability. We have communication here, we are able to comment, but we do need further review and input as the process continues. As the maps are developed, there has to be opportunity for citizens to attend hearings like this and also to have access through the internet and be able to make comments and to look at some interactive aspects of the redistricting maps. The mapping process should be fair and open. This is critical because right now we have a Republican-appointed legislative and congressional reapportionment office, and the person giving legal guidance is also counsel to the state Republican Party. There needs to be nonpartisan aspects related to redistricting. And since this is the case that right now we have a partisan focus, I would like to know what measures are in place so there is some accountability to the taxpayers and the citizens that will show that the process is fair and objective. Finally, equality. I have been studying what other groups have said about redistricting, and they talk about the need to have principles in place. And I would like to know what those principles are for this process here in Georgia. First, they should be transparent to the public, as I mentioned. It should provide data, tools, and opportunities for the public to have direct input into the process. And they should be drawn in a manner that will allow the elected bodies to reflect the diversity of the population in the area, especially the racial and ethnic diversity that we have in this state. Maybe it's time to consider representation that is proportional rather than gerrymandering, which has happened in the past. with software and tools that are now available, citizens can participate. We must remember that all voters are equal under the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Green and Bob Hargrove. Again, if anybody wishes to speak, please go sign up front so that we can call you up to speak in a timely manner.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Green, and I'm from Jones County. And I want to thank you all for your hard work in addressing the concerns, and we appreciate this public hearing to be able to give our input. And speaking as a 27-year resident of Jones County, and I would like to say my experience that every time we've had redistricting for the census, Jones County ends up in a different congressional district or split at least 2 ways, and I would hope that you would consider keeping counties whole, especially the rural counties. We really lose a lot when we're split because of our smaller population size. And also we would like to stay in the 8th district and hope that there won't be too much being in the middle of the state. I know we come to, it's a crossroads, and I'm sure there will be intersections of district lines happening in this area possibly. My opinion also, I think it's good to have personally a lot of diversity in your congressional districts, especially. I think that allows for every voice to be heard in that district. The state and House and Senate districts really, I know personally I'm happy they've stayed more the same through these processes than the congressional district for our county, and I hope that will continue, and I hope we'll have stability with our congressional district in our area. The other thing I'd like to see too, I think it's something that's hurt the middle Georgia area, and somebody, I don't live in Bibb County, but I am a neighbor, and I think the Senate seats, somebody mentioned they'd like to see 1 senator from Bibb County. Personally, I'd like to see 3. Anything to break that tie so that, good decisions can be made that affect the whole middle Georgia region, since Bibb County is a center of population and commerce and arts and industry. So thank you very much. I hope you'll consider those points.
Thank you. Bob?
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to Middle Georgia to provide us opportunities for input in this very important process. My comments will be brief. One of my concerns is,
can I get your name and?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Bob Hargrove. I'm a resident of Bibb County. Been a voter for 36 years here in Bibb County. My concern is, as you introduced yourselves, many of you had to say, well, I'm from part of this county or part of that county. I would really like to see all the lines be on the county borders, both the Senate, both the House, and even the congressional districts, because that's really the area in which the local people are most involved. So that seems to be a simple issue, but I understand that in high density populated areas you might have to split them, but the split should be transparent and open to everyone. My second comment has to do with the races. I've been voting, as I said, for 36 years. For the first, 15 or 20 years, I had one person to vote for almost in every race. There were very few contested races, and they were all Democrats. And the reverse is now the case in some races. I would like to see both parties represented in almost every race so that the voters have a choice. In this current election, it looks like I'll have some selection at the local level, but at the state and levels, it's difficult. So I would like to see competition so that we can have, the voters can have a knowledgeable debate of the issues with the people vying for that candidacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Albert O'Brien. Nobody's moving. Did I mispronounce that? Your email address is coolanddry@mybluelight.com. Did I get that right? You got the email right. And David Lucas.
Good evening. I'm Albert O'Brien. I'm a resident of Peach County. I've been involved in the reapportionment process for the last 20 years. 20 years ago, my house was taken out the district, and by Democrats, by the way, in the wee hours of the night doing reapportionment and so forth. So that I have a history of dealing with this process. Basically, there are two things, and those two things is basically to follow the law. Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. That's the law. We can't change it. If we follow the law, we won't even be in court. We get an additional congressional seat. That means the pie's bigger. So the pie's bigger, you got more people to split. So we follow Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, we'll be fine. Thank you.
Afternoon, gentlemen. I'm David E. Lucas, former member of the Georgia General Assembly. I think that the process has to be fair, must be transparent. It must include everybody. It must include social, economic, cultural, as well as political demographics. As I've watched this committee over the course of your hearings, I've not seen one female nor a black sit in front of any audience except in Savannah, Georgia. I think there's something wrong with that process since we are a part of Georgia. 48% of the voters in the last election voted Democratic. So I would assume that you would look at the demographics of the voters of the state of Georgia, that 48% would be Democratic. The other thing is that the time that you have the hearings, most folks are working or just getting off from work, trying to get the kids together and can't make these hearings. The last part, you are not holding hearings in rural Georgia, and rural Georgia is going to suffer more than anybody else just based on population alone, and that they are going to lose population, and these hearings ought to be in rural Georgia where folks are going to lose representation based on population. With that, I would ask you to consider these remarks and handle them appropriately.
Okay, Nancy Terrell and Diane Van. Again, if anybody has come in late and wishes to speak, please go up out front, sign the sheet so we can call you to speak. If nobody else is to speak, we're going to have to take a break and see if more people show up to speak, because these are all that we have signed up at this point in time.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having these hearings, and thank you for coming to Macon. My name is Nancy Terrell, and I'm a resident of Bibb County, have been since 1972. And I'm certainly a voter. I'm very interested in this process. I would like to echo several things, or at least one thing that Representative Lucas said, and I too am disappointed that the Senate failed to appoint any women to this committee. I do believe there are 4 from the House, but I do believe we represent, half of Georgia at least, and like to be so represented. I too believe that the districts should conform as much as possible to the county borders. I would like to see Bibb County certainly be kept whole with our representatives, certainly in the Senate and in our congressional district. We too have been split off and on over the years, and I think it's better if we have one representative. I'd like to make a few points about how the committee will proceed. I would hope that you would make your initial maps available online and to the press so they can be widely and easily accessible to all of the citizens of Georgia, not just those with computers, and allow time, perhaps a break after the first week or two, for citizens to comment and perhaps even come up to the Capitol or have several hearings back in the districts to hear comments and feedback on those initial maps. I also hope that there will be a report issued at the end of the process explaining exactly why the committee chose the district lines that they did. So we will all understand it. I would urge the committee or the state to submit the maps to the Department of Justice for pre-clearance rather than going to the courts. I think it took at least 4 years, or maybe 6 the last time, before the courts finally approved a constitutional district. So I would certainly hope that in these times of strained economic resources that we wouldn't spend the state resources on that. Thank you very much.
Diane?
I'm Diane Van. I'm from Bibb County, and I speak from the perspective of a former candidate. I was running for Congress, 8th District, last year, and was running with Austin Scott and Ken DeLoach. Ken would have liked to be here, in fact, and so I agree with Mr. Lucas. It would be nice if the time of this gave more, of starting this would have given more time for the person getting off work. Just as a comment, as I did the 21 county tour every month for 7 months and did grow quite fond of all 21 counties, I did find some problems as a candidate. This is the map I used, and there were 3 counties that were split, which were Newton, Baldwin, and Worth County, and this is the best I know of their limits of where I would have been if I'd won that race. And looking at the street names and the plot names and so on that I did get offline was not very helpful. So my strong suggestion is you make the do not split counties as you do this, please, for the candidate's sake especially. And then also I'd like to see that you have like 159 representatives at the House level, and there's like 139 counties, if I'm remembering correctly. And as I went around the counties, I found people saying, we wish we just had 1 representative. And there's enough that you could have 1 representative per county and then have an extra representative if the population warranted. Another thing is I found that farming districts, particularly in Ben Hill, that lower area of my this district, they felt like they were being ignored, and they thanked us for doing things as we campaigned. They felt ignored. So just to take that into account as you do this planning too, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Bentley.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty Bentley, Vice Chairman of the Taylor County Board of Commissioners, and I just want to thank this committee for having these meetings. I just want to reiterate what our Representative Lucas mentioned. Small rural counties, he's absolutely right. I had to leave my son and get him squared away and get here as soon as I could, so I just arrived. But if there are going to be future hearings, please consider our small rural counties over in Taylor and Peach. Fort Valley State University have a very beautiful auditorium that can certainly host such a meeting. Please consider that, and anything that you can do to keep us in House District 135, I would certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, right now we don't have anybody else that has signed up to speak. Here's how we handle that, is that we'll take a break for a certain period of time because individuals may be coming in to a little later on. Before we do that, if we have any members of the House or Senate that have arrived after we have had everybody the opportunity to introduce themselves, if you would please stand so that we could let you introduce yourself. So if we have any additional members of the House or Senate that have arrived since we did the introduction, then we will please allow yourself to identify. You may have to walk down to get a hold of that.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Ford. I serve in the state Senate. I represent parts of the cities of Atlanta and East Point in Fulton County. It's good to be here.
Good evening. I'm Horaceena Tate. I represent part of Fulton County, some parts that Senator Ford doesn't represent. I'm in the state Senate also. It's good to be here.
Good evening. I'm Mac Jackson. I represent District 142, which is Washington County, Jefferson County, a part of Johnson, a part of Emmanuel, and a part of Burke County, and it's good to be here.
And I'm Matt Ramsey, State Representative from Fayette County.
Doug hasn't.
And Doug McKillop, House District 115 from Athens. Thank you.
And Representative Ramsey is the vice chair on the House side, and Doug is the secretary on the House side.
I'm Senator Gail Davenport, represent portions of Clayton County and Henry County. That's District 44. Glad to be here in Middle Georgia.
Okay, with that, I have 550. And again, if you have not already signed up and spoken, you have the opportunity to do so. Just go out front and sign up so you have the opportunity to have your comments. How about we take a break and we'll come back at 6:10. At 6:10. Thank you. Okay, if everybody could please cease their conversations and take their seats.
We got two signed up, and they get 30 minutes each. How's it been, Doug? You getting any work done?
If everybody would please cease conversations and take their seats. Okay, again, we'll remind everybody that if you wish to speak, to please go out front, sign the sheet so that we could call you the name that you signed up. Remind everybody again, we're limiting comments to 3 minutes, but that there are many ways that you can make sure that your complete comments can be made for consideration. You can write a letter to either Chairman Lane or myself. You can write letters to your state senator or your House member. You can go to the website. Again, that is www.legis.ga.gov. And you can make comments through that. So there's plenty of opportunity to make sure you have your complete comments that are given to the committee for consideration. Since we have another member that has shown up, I will allow the Vice Chair of the Senate Reapportionment Redistricting Committee to introduce himself. And if we have any other House or Senate members who have not introduced themselves yet, if you would please stand so we could give you opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Calsert. Good to be here. I grew up in Macon, so it's good to be back in my old stomping grounds and see all my friends again.
Okay, we have, oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Sharon Beasley Teague, a rep from South Fulton, 65th House District. Thank you.
Any other members of the General Assembly that have not introduced themselves yet? Okie dokie. Martha Branson and Laura Jackson. Hang on a second, make sure we get that turned on.
Good evening. I'm Martha Bond Branson, and I'm from Jones County. And I wanted to say hello to Mr. Calsert. I know your mother. But anyway, we're glad that all of you have worked so conscientiously, and I fully want you to know that I trust your good judgment. And I just wanted to briefly comment that I hope when the decisions are made that we won't waste Georgia resources by having any lawsuits. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for the time, and thank you so much for all your efforts.
Thank you. I got a few things I could tell you to tell his mama.
Good evening. I'm Laura Jackson. I'm a resident of Jones County. I'd like to say thank you to the committee and the state representatives and Senate members who are able to come to Macon and Middle Georgia today. But as a resident of Jones County in a rural area, I say please don't forget our rural counties throughout the state. I just want to make sure that I get an opportunity to say, as a constituent, please make sure you check with our very capable and already elected representatives who are not on your committee. I do believe that our elected officials that are elected to represent us are best able to communicate to the members of this committee what might best be new districting lines for our state. And I do understand that many of us are concerned about it being simple and easy to understand that it does go along state lines. But as a former congressional aide, that's not always possible. And sometimes as residents, we don't realize that. please, in knowing that, do what's best for us, but most manageable for the residents and the constituency of the state of Georgia. We want an opportunity to be equally and fairly and consensuously, with good synergy, represented by our soon-to-be elected officials. And we would hope that you would not, as a committee, become so cloistered and tight that you don't go out and reach out to the representatives that we have duly and carefully elected, who are good representatives and the best person to ask what their constituency might need or look forward to. I thank you for your time, and please get out to some of the other rural counties in the state. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. If anybody wishes to speak, please go up front and sign up, and then we will allow the opportunity to speak. We have no other speakers at this point in time, so I have 6:16, so we'll take a break till 6:30. everybody could cease conversations for a moment so I get everybody's attention. Everybody's attention, please. I didn't say you had to take your seats because all I wanted to do was get everybody's attention to tell you that we, at this point, do not have anybody else that has signed up to speak. It is 6:30, and so we will take another 10-minute break, and we'll give to 6:40 in case somebody shows up to speak. 6:40. Thank you. We still do not have anybody else that has signed up to speak. If you are here and would like to speak and would like to make your concerns and comments known, please go and sign up front, and we'll give you the opportunity to speak. It is 6:40. We don't have any speakers, so we will take one more 10-minute recess. And if we don't get any speakers signed up at that point in time, we will make closing comments and pass along some final information. 6:50. Thank you. All right, if I could get everybody to please cease their conversation and take their seats. If everybody could please take their seats. President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House would really love if we responded that well when we're in session. We have no other speakers, so with that, I am going to turn the mic over to the Chairman of the House Reapportionment and Redistrict Committee, Representative Roger Lane, for some closing comments.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight and participating in this public hearing. Is very important to our committee to hear and to have heard from you. It'll certainly help us in our deliberations as we work on getting redistricting done this year. Our schedule from here, we've had eight public hearings so far. There's so many about forgot. But our schedule here, Tuesday night, we'll be in Stockbridge for another public hearing. If you have any friends or anybody that from that area that you think might be interested, tell them we'll be having it at the same time, 5 to 7. And that time has worked pretty good for us. We keep the mics open until 7 o'clock. And we've had at other venues, we've had people show up at 10 minutes to 7 or a quarter to 7 and wanted to speak to the committee. And we think that's worked real well. You know, we could stay here till 9 o'clock, but I don't think anybody would be here after about 7 or 7:30. But it has worked well, and that'll be the same schedule we'll have tomorrow night. So we'd appreciate if you have any friends in those areas, we would like to hear from them. When we get through at the end of the summer, we will go into special session on August the 15th, and the House and Senate will start working on actually having committee meetings and considering maps, and those meetings are open to the public. They will be broadcast on the internet. If you can't get to the meeting, you can see the discussions and debate. That's the time that the maps will be debated, and folks can bring in their maps and their versions and what they want us to do with the redistricting. It'll be just like any other bill or any other committee meeting. It'll be open for people to come in. So we encourage you to participate in that process. Everything we have done so far from public hearing standpoint is archived and is on the internet for you to go and see what comments we receive from other parts of the state. It's a real exciting video to watch, and I get a laugh out of it every now and then when we, up here, we make a mistake that stands out as glaring, and it's kind of fun to see us under the gun every now and then. But I encourage you to look at those and really see what some of the other areas have said. So with that, we're going to adjourn the meeting. We appreciate y'all being here, and we'd like to see you up in Stockbridge tomorrow night for another exciting meeting. Thanks a lot.